Hey guys, welcome back. BDC Care here. We're back with a video from Injustice 2.16, and we're going to be fighting some hackers today. Or a hacker today.
One of the three sort of big ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this has been the talk on the forums about, well, it's all frustrating to play MP Online because the main hacking part, besides having unreleased characters at this point, like Flashpoint Aquaman, is that they've got Astro Harness in all of them, so it really drags out the fight.
Yeah, even if you can beat them easily, which you can't, you would still have to wait a ton of time for all the Astro Harnesses to play out, and you really kind of are locked into a long fight whether you want it to be or not.
So I think this is sort of the key in terms of the strategy, and we're going to show you a number of times with this against the same team. And we'll do actually subsequent videos on the other teams. Yeah, crap. The crucial part, I think, is actually having a really good tank like Arkham Knight Batman, because the danger of this team, the Flashpoint, is all their destructive blows, and if they do critical damage, they do a huge amount of it. Yeah. Add to that the fact that the barrier from Aquaman absorbs a bunch of damage, so see, we took a huge amount of that damage, but it's still worth it because Arkham Knight Batman, if you don't do that, he doesn't do enough sort of straight up damage when we do the no crit damage and no damage over time, and that's really what saves us. And he's really necessary to absorb a lot of the damage to tank it, as all the Astro Harness processes register, right?
Yeah, and it turns out the most effective strategy is cheating for online MP. Oops, closed again.
I hate when I touch it. Yeah.
Because these guys are really, like, brutal. If you don't... I think part of the problem is that these guys require a strategy that you almost don't need for anybody except for hackers. Right. Is what's so frustrating. Where when you're building a team, not because of its kind of use against the general meta, but specifically for hackers, it feels frustrating.
Yeah. So you see, despite the barrier, because of Arkham Knight Batman and because of the way we geared him, and we'll take another look at that, he's actually still able to make it through, because your inclination would be to want to not, 1.1 million, to want to do specials on the barrier. You still have to, because they're still taking more damage than you are.
Yeah.
All right, so let's try.
Because if you don't do specials, you almost can't win.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you need people who can do a huge amount of damage. Normally, if it weren't the Flashpoint team with Flashpoint Aquaman, who would reflect a bunch of the special damage, it would actually be very, very effective. But because it's almost like a war of attrition, you need somebody who's going to be a big basic damage dealer, like Injustice 2 Superman. But the problem is, if you bring them in to do the attacks, their basic attacks can do so much damage to you. So what you're noticing here too is that we're taking 3 Wayne Tech boosts. One thing I actually screw up sometimes is at the beginning of the fight, I forget that the guy's got Astro Harness, and I try to do a special 2 right away. And what you need to do is wait. And what's the beauty of his special 2 is it does so much damage.
But all in one hit.
Right, it bypasses... Yeah, the first 2 hits don't really count for much because it doesn't do enough.
Yeah.
It bypasses a bunch of the triggers of the Astro Harness is enough to knock them out.
Or hopefully. If they don't get a revive anyways.
So watch. Here, see, if we can actually get some hits in, we'd be able to...
Oh, that's perfect, actually. That was kind of the perfect hit combo, right? Because it triggered after the last hit.
Right, see, watch. So there's the beauty of no damage over time and no crit, right?
Yeah.
So he really can tank it.
And obviously, you can tell these fights aren't
all
from the same battle.
Yeah, these are clips taken from different battles.
Because we're not fighting him over and over again.
So now you see why we've given Arkham Knight Batman 2 of the... Ouch. 2 of the Fourth World Gear set, right? So that he can just be that much better at tanking. And what it doesn't do is it doesn't take away from his special 2, which is enough to really take somebody down.
Yeah. But thank goodness that Aquaman's ability leaves you at 1 health, right? Like damage over time, you can't actually be killed by it.
Right.
Because if you could be, it would be just awful. It would be just so hard.
So Aquaman was close enough that it was worth doing basic damage to try to get him past that point, because it wasn't worth it to take the reflected damage if we were going to give him a really big hit with a special. So there's one more. Yeah, the damage is split a bit more evenly. So why don't we try that one more time? Because maybe we'll try to bring in Injustice 2 Superman for a little bit. But like I said, he does a good amount of damage. You avoid Aquaman's passive, right? So still the same gear. You avoid his passive, but it doesn't actually... Yeah, free recharge. In a practical sense, it just... He takes too much damage when it's not a special because of the destructive blows.
Yeah. You gotta get in quick, really.
Yep.
That's the one good thing about this fight, is it's not like it's not one of those like hacked fights, or it's not even as bad as I think it used to be, like really early on when heals were so unbalanced, right? Where you could almost just heal forever. It's almost a little more manageable, more stomachable than that.
And the thing is too, besides the extra Astro Harnesses, Flashpoint Aquaman, we're actually going to have to deal with him soon. Maybe not that soon, because at most you're really going to be facing him at E2.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to be dealing with him quite a bunch. Oh, and the other thing too is a good loadout for Arkham Knight Batman is not necessarily, not necessarily for this fight, that you can see the benefit of it, but you want to do a good amount of splash damage. So that's why Batgirl is geared for doing splash damage on one, and when you give him the mace as his second fourth world gear set, then you can actually the key to this to getting through a 3 Astro Harness team is to bypass any of the invulnerables, right? That's what actually saves you in the fight. So the more you can do that by actually doing splash damage, or doing specials that do enough damage that it triggers only once for getting below like 10%, right? Instead of for 50 and 10, then you're gonna negate some of the benefit of having the extra Astro Harness, and there's a bit of an opportunity cost loss where they're not... Oh yeah, he doesn't have this barrier. That's good. Yeah, see, this is the problem. Injustice 2 Superman Special 2 does a huge amount of damage, but it's not backloaded like Arkham Knight Batman's is.
So there's a decent chance that
you can trigger his passive once, and the rest of the Special 2 is lost.
It depends a little bit on who it is and how much health they're at, but it's definitely not as consistently good.
Yeah. So that's... we got one more fight.
Yeah, as you can see, it's a 7th battle. I think every time, right? I think in this video,
he shows up a lot in the 7th one. Yeah, it's true. It's funny because to me, the one with Ares, the unreleased Ares, is actually a more difficult fight.
But that's just because
there's a timer.
Yeah.
The fact is, when you've got something that delays the game like the Astro Harness as much as it does, and you've got loss of crit because of Red Sun Green Lantern and Red Sun Wonder Woman, then it delays it so much more and becomes a real race to finish.
It's pretty brutal.
There we go.
But that'll be a later video. We have some footage of us beating him too, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna go through all the sort of main teams that based on
probably the same guy.
Probably same guy based on the naming convention, but I mean, each of the teams presents like slightly nuanced, different kind of approach that's necessary.
It would almost be a kind of fun event if it weren't a hacker, right? Like if they had like an online multiplayer like invasion like event where there were these guys and you had to beat them, it would actually, I think, be a fun challenge, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the kind of way that it's very obviously a hacker.
Ooh.
And there's no actual benefit for beating him except for like personal pride, or beating them, I should say. We don't know it's a him, but like this would be a fun thing if you had to like beat them a certain number of times. If there was a different gameplay mode, you had to beat them a certain number of times, and you could like earn a reward or something.
We've got no health. This is the perfect time to actually do the Special 2, where his reflected damage does nothing. All right, so now we're in for it. You know what? And I gotta tell you, the pirate crew thing where Flashpoint Aquaman came in to help has been responsible for the most crashes in these fights ever.
Which makes a little bit of sense to me because he's a unreleased character. They don't need to optimize him as much yet. Though they're probably not going to do an update before they do it.
So there you go. That is how you beat this particular hacker with 3 Astro Harness gears and while taking into account the passes of the all Flashpoint team.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Komoda.